Topic 19-2, line plots. Your essential question, how can you use a line plot? Presented by your lovely teacher, Ms. Villaseñor. Okay, we're going to create a line plot based on this information here, in which about 15 students were asked how many hours of sleep do they get a night. And looking at the numbers, you can see how the lowest number of hours is 6, right? And then the most, it looks like the most a student is sleeping is 10 hours. So that means that we don't see any numbers lower than 6 or any higher than 10 hours. So based on this information, we're going to create a line plot. And we're going to be asked to do a frequency table, and that makes it easier to see based on this information how many times is this number being repeated. Because looking at the hours of sleep, you could see these numbers, some of these numbers are being repeated. So the way to do that is we're going to create a table. Okay, voila, here's my magical table. And this table here, we're going to get the information based on this here. So the first section of our frequency table is going to have hours. So how many hours are mentioned from that table. And then the next section of our table will have tally. That means like how many times does that number appear? Like how many students say that number? And then frequency means like how many times was it being repeated? Okay, so here we go. So we're going to look at here, it looks like we have 6 hours, right? It's being mentioned, and then we have a 7 hours, and then we have a 8 hours, then we have 9 hours, and then we have 10 hours. Okay, so I'm going to erase this so we could do, wrong pin there. Okay, so now we're going to see how many students, based on the information, gave us 6 hours. So we're going to use tally mark. So let's see, how many times do we see the number 6? Looks like just once, right? So that's how we put one mark there. And then how many times is that repeated? Just once, right? And then we're going to look at 7. So let's cross that out so it could be organized and know, oh, we already used that up. So then we're going to do 7. Looks like 7's only repeated once, so tally 1 mark there. And frequency means only listed once. Cross that out. Then 8. Let's see how many 8s we get. We see a repeated. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 marks here, and that means that 5 times it was listed on the information here. And then let's look how many 9s. So we could do it like this if you want to mark one at a time as you're circling. There's 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Looks like 5 here as well. And then we say frequency was 5. It was listed 5 times by 5 different people. And then we want to cross them out. And then the last one that's left is 10. So we have 1 10 there. Then another one here, and marking my tally marks, and then the third one there. And it looks like it was only, the frequency was 3 for that one. Okay, so that's how you create your frequency table. And then from this table, we're going to create a line plot. Okay, from there you'll see that this table was then this information here from our frequency table. Then we created that line plot here. As you can see, here's a definition of a line plot, which means using x's to display data values on a number line. So you see how the 6 here, the tally mark was 1, so then there was 1x listed, right? And on 7, same thing, right? And then 8, since 8 was listed 5 times, you see 5 x's. And then same for 9, right? And then same for 10. Well, 10 was 3 right there. Okay, so let me erase this so you can look at it closely. It's on your book as well. And so from that frequency table, that's where we created the line plot. And pay attention to, the title, which is hours of sleep. frequency, how often was that number listed, and then down here these 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 we list as hours. Okay, so by looking at this line plot, let me erase all this so it's not so busy. But looking at the line plot, can you see that most students, right, just by looking at it as a visual, we could see that most students are getting sleep every night of 8 to 9 hours, right? And then this is what they stated here. That's what we concluded based on the line plot information. Okay, the last section of this lesson that we haven't talked about is the outlier. And this is being explained in your book under another example. So this information here, you see, this has to do with golf team scores. So we have the table there. Let me go back to that. Sorry about that. So here's the golf team scores. And from there, remember the frequency table there to show the tally marks. And then from there, the line plot was created. In our previous example, all the marks are pretty close together. But in this line plot here, do you see that there's one number that is way out of, not close to the other range of numbers? So if you look here closely, most numbers are on the average of 85 to 89. I think that's what it says. And then because it's so tiny, and then but this one here, it's way over here in the 100s. Okay, so that's what we call the outlier. Okay, and let me point out the definition here of the outlier, which means a data point that has a value much greater in this case, or it could also be a value that is much less than the other points in a data set. Okay. Again, not all of the data will have an outlier. So remember, the outlier could be a number that is way bigger than the other set of numbers or way smaller. Okay, and that is your lesson, and you should be good to go.